And that's actually one area in which, Mike, I'm blissfully happy to diverge with you on this point, because I understand, so Sam Harris, and I think a crux of this goes down to the fact that there's someone among who speaks for us atheists who really believes that there's something left to this word spiritual, essentially. And of course his is he's like the guy who, I went and did meditation for 6 months or something because I wanted to get some sense of the experience that these people were talking about. And then he says, well, we don't want to abandon the playing field of being able to define this realm of things that are spiritual to the people who we think are crazy wackos who believe in invisible things in the sky. Where I think we differ is that you'd say it's not worth saying anything about because there are too many differences in opinion, basically. Yeah. And both you and I agree that a concept of spiritual, like an idea of spiritual, at the very least, since we don't believe in anything that's immaterial, I think the idea of a spiritual is a feeling, you know. And I always say to Christians who say, well, don't you ever experience anything that's spiritual? And I said, well, I don't believe there's a spirit, but I have felt things you could call spiritual, because I would say the first time that I saw Carl Sagan's Cosmos, I had the most intense feeling of wonder and awe, and it's a television show, but still, an amazing feeling of this pervasive feeling of being this is amazing how small and insignificant I am, but how significant my insignificance should be to me. And I think this is valuable to be able to talk in those terms, but while also, qualifying necessarily that when I say spiritual, I don't mean that it has to do anything with a part of me that's not material, because there's no part of me that's not material. It's all in here. Yeah, that's, I guess my disagreement with you on that is that it's the word spiritual. It's not necessarily anything else. I agree with everything else you said. I think there's something to be learned, especially at the level of the brain, on all of these experiences. Right. I think there's something really important to, and it's something that's sort of this experience that ties us all together. I'm all for. Yeah, I'm all for that. This sort of shared experience that we can all do. And I also agree that a lot of people tend to project supernatural ideas on these basic experiences. Right. I just don't like the word spiritual, because if you use that word, you're in the minority of people who do think that there is a supernatural element to that, and you end up inadvertently creating a misunderstanding. Oh, we have a phone call.
Oh, let's do it.
Joe from Des Moines. Joe, what can you got for us today?
Yes. Don't you think that perhaps spiritualist points of view are much like a child with a teddy bear? It gives you comfort.
But I think, that aside from comfort, I think there's a certain value in the truth, that I can feel comfort from telling somebody a lie, but I think that people are big boys. They can handle reality, and I think it's sort of condescending to say that, oh, well, they take comfort from that. I'm not saying I'm going to rip it away and throw down their lollipop and laugh at them, but...
Oh, but from the perspective and the paradigm of, in crises, there is a need for comfort, and they find comfort much like a child would with a teddy bear.
Well, that's, Joe, that's fine for me. People can find comfort in whatever beliefs they want to. Just don't talk about it being true.
Yeah.
If you can believe whatever you want to if it makes you feel good. Just don't say anything to me about that there's some kind of objective truth to it. Don't say that because this has to do with my soul and it's good for my soul, this thing that's immaterial that'll live on forever. You believe whatever you want to, but leave truth out of it, because when you enter the realm of truth, that's when we can actually talk about it. So as far as being comforted, people can believe whatever they want to. You can be as deluded as you want to and be comfortable, and I'm perfectly willing for them to keep that. It's just, let's actually, if we want to talk about truth, let's talk about truth. Let's not talk about feelings.
Always give something demonstrable, something that we can actually look at and study. I mean, yeah, you get comfort, but you can get comfort from anything. I could manufacture a lie right now that's incredibly comforting, but it has no value in truth. And for me, I care about whether the things that I believe are true, if they correspond with reality in any way. So I'd say it's far more comforting to me that this can actually be proven, rather than it's something that I can just repeat to myself like a mantra.
Right. And I think, Joe, where the unfortunate part where we're in our country is the fact that most people buy into this sense of this other definition of spiritualism and all of these related religious concepts, and they really care more about those being maintained than they care about having an actual honest discussion about what is extant and what is not, what exists and what doesn't.
And there are people who actually legislate based on these
Right.
beliefs as well. I mean, and sometimes it becomes a gateway to even having political power. I mean, there's actually a Republican primary that was happening earlier this year where two people were both literalist conservatives were arguing over who believed in the literal truth of the Bible more than the other person and who was more anti-evolution than the other person.
Right.
And these are things that affect all of us. And one of the big reasons we have this show, I think it's important for us who don't believe any of this malarkey to have a voice and to simply say, no, before we talk about this or that soul as it pertains to something like stem cell research or gay rights, how about you actually prove the efficacy of your claims?
Right. Well, we should actually, this is a good, ask this, we haven't done this, is, Joe, what is it that you believe?
Well, I've
why?
read Cursed Graves. I've read Sir Godfrey Higgins. I've read the 1560 version of the Geneva Bible.
Well, I mean, aside from what you've read, instead of giving us a bibliography, how about you summarize it for us?
Well,
I mean, if you had to give like in a sentence or so what your belief system essentially is.
my belief system is very simple. I'm a poly-atheist. There's many gods I don't believe in. But I enjoy your show, and carry on.
Oh,
All right,
okay.
thank you, Joe.
Well, you're the first polyatheist that we've had. Thanks so much, Joe. Have a good afternoon.
You too.